So I think that right now the kind of question of how somebody would try to design a more just media environment is a really rich kind of a dialogue, and I think that the kinds of debates that are taking place are asking the key issue, which is that what is the legitimacy of the corporate media? What legitimacy does that have for the society? Is simply being wealthy enough to own a printing press allow you to, participate in, efforts to destabilize democratically elected governments? So Correa brought up the example of the 2002 coup attempt against Chavez. The question of media ownership, the concentration of wealth and its political power over the society, and what role that has on the kind of popular ideology, the kind of collective consciousness of the society, the way in which there is progress towards building up a greater presence of community voices, which I believe will have the plurality of the bandwidth of radio and television at 34%. I think that that's a promising sign, and I think that trying to cultivate new forms of ownership, new forms of participation is going to be essential to trying to have a more democratic society.
Do you believe that there is a purpose in society for a private media that has a profit motivation?
I think that the profit motivation is extremely insidious, and I think that at a certain base level it is irreconcilable with the right to information as a public good, and the commercialization of these kinds of forms of human interaction, I think, is a pretty harmful dynamic, and I think that it should be combated to the extent possible.
But you still have to run a television channel and pay your workers and buy your cameras or your printing press, or I guess your web space.
Yeah, and there's been models of doing that. ProPublica in the United States is a nonprofit model of doing journalism, and it does pretty scrupulous investigative journalism. If you look at the form of BBC's setup, in which they levy a tax on televisions that are bought, and you can set up a kind of a firewall between the government and the actual administration of these media institutions. You can have state subsidies for community groups, which is what this new media law intends to do, is subsidize bandwidth for groups. So there's a whole multiplicity of potential models, and I think that the corporate structure has failed us so many times, time and time again, with really disastrous effects on mankind. If you look at the Iraq War, which has killed upwards of at least 100,000 people, if not upwards of 1 million. That is one of the great tragedies that could have been avoided if you had a free, independent, and combative press towards power. And as a result of that, you see the horrors that have taken place in that area. So I think that an experimentation, a societal experimentation with different forms of ownership and different models and business structures is absolutely essential to trying to develop a better society.
Is there any parallel to the sort of experimentation that's going on in Ecuador right now happening in the States or anywhere else in the world that you can think of?
Well, I think Latin America is at the forefront of these kinds of efforts, and I think that it comes from the battles that popular movements have had to confront in a way that the United States has not yet dealt with. So people are seeking these kinds of answers of how a democratic society, through democratic processes, can have a more powerful role in the obstruction of that collective dissemination of information. So places like Venezuela have had very burgeoning sectors of community-based media as well, and so I think that we'll have to be looking very closely at what is successful here in Ecuador, and I think that there are a lot of pretty inspiring developments taking place at the grassroots that we'll be sure to keep our eyes on.
Well, we'll see. I'm excited to see where it goes to. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Yeah, my pleasure.